All right, so today your title in your journal should already be there. It should be fractions on a number line, and you should have glued in number lines underneath of your title because you're going to be working the problems as I work through them with you in the video. Okay, fractions on a number line is kind of tricky, and this is where people usually have trouble. So we want to make sure we're focused, paying attention, and doing along with the video. Okay, so we did number lines when we were multiplying and dividing, and we did hops on a number line. Okay, does everybody remember that? Where we would go 1, 2, 3 jumps and whatnot. Fractions on a number line is just a little bit different. Okay, when we add and subtract fractions on the number line, we'll do hops. But before we can add or subtract on the number line, we need to know what the fractions are, because they won't be labeled. You'll see a number line like this with a 0 and a 1, and you have to say what that number or what that fraction is that's at that arrow. Okay, we know fractions are a part of a whole, so that means they're smaller than 1, but we have to figure out what exactly is that fraction. Okay, so how do we do that? I want you to pause and just think for a moment. What fraction might that be? How could I figure it out? Okay, welcome back. So what fraction did we think it was? So keep that in mind as we work through the problem. And I want you to think about, we've done the bar model where we see the strips, okay, like strip model. So we're gonna kind of make this into a fraction strip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm going to take from 0 and 1, I'm gonna find wherever they are, and I'm gonna make a line down and connect it so that I have a strip. Now, you should all do that in your journal. Pause the video to do so. Okay, once we've made a strip from 0 to 1, okay, and look, here's our 0 to 1, our strip, okay, it matches our fraction strips. We have to figure out what the little hashes are. So we're gonna make the hashes into fraction pieces. So now it's not so hard. So if I have one whole, because it was 0 to 1, one whole, how many equal pieces do I have? I have 4 equal pieces. So I'm gonna go through at each spot and label. So this is 0 out of 4 pieces. This is 1 out of 4 pieces. 2 out of 4 pieces. And you should be labeling in your journal because this is how we do it and I expect to see it. 3 out of 4 pieces. And 4 out of 4 pieces, which we knew was also equal to 1. Okay, and now that makes figuring out where the arrow is really easy. The arrow is at the 1, 4, okay? And if I put these in, if I put them above, you could see I made it so that it all is equal with our fraction strips. That there are the 4 equal pieces that fit between 0 and 1. And if I only go this far, then if I only go this far, I've only used 1 piece, which is where we get 1/4 from, okay? Let's try the second example. So go to number 2 in your journal. If your number line is not labeled for number 1, you need to stop and go back because I am not accepting work that does not have labels. Okay, number 2. Okay, again, I'm gonna look to see where is 0 and where is 1. There they are. So I know that I can make a bar that connects 0 and 1. So we're going to draw our lines up and across to connect 0 and 1 so that we have the nice bar that matches our fraction strips. Okay, who remembers the second thing we need to do? We need to now make these hash marks into bars. So there's 1 and 2, and this is the one we're going to be looking at. Okay, so how many equal pieces are in this one hole? In the one hole, oops, that's not very lined up. In the one hole, I have 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. I'm gonna put those in there so you can see. 1/3, another 1/3, and another 1/3. See how those 3 equal pieces line up to make that one hole? And I know they're not lined up because my hand's a little shaky. But now I'm gonna do my labeling. So I'm gonna say, okay, this is, if they're thirds, this is 0/3 because at this point we haven't used any pieces. Now, when we get to here, we've used 1 piece. So this is 1/3. Then we go 1/3 and we add another third. So how many third pieces have I used now? I have 2/3. And then to get my last chunk, I need another third, which is 3/3, which we know is equal to 1. And I want to know where the X is, or what was the arrow. And I see that that is 2/3. So my answer for where the X or the arrow was 2/3. Okay, this next one I would like you to try by yourself. So pause the video. Look, make sure you have the examples down and you can look back to those. Unpause the video when you've figured out where that arrow is located on the number line. Okay, welcome back. So we, at this point, should all have an answer as to where that arrow is located on the number line, and we're gonna go through it together. So first, I figure out where is 0 and 1. Okay, today all the examples have 0 and 1, but that's not always gonna be the case. Okay, and at the end, I'll show you an example where that's not the case so that you can see why it's so important to look for 0 and 1. Okay, so first you should have made yourself a fraction bar. That is equal to 1 whole. After you made a fraction bar, you should have made fraction pieces, just like those pieces we've been working with in class. Next, we need to figure out how many equal pieces are there in one whole. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 equal pieces. So my arrow was here. So I'm gonna put, I know that it's 8s, so that means I need to label my number line in 8s. So my first is 0/8 because I don't have any 8s. Then I go to 1/8. And we keep going. We need 2/8. We keep going. 3/8. And we keep going. We label all the way to the end. 4/8, which is also equal to 1/2. I know some of you picked that up when we were working on that. We need another 1/8. And that would be 5/8. But I want the whole number line labeled because sometimes we make a mistake, and if we don't label the whole number line, then we're not going to be able to catch our mistake. So we need to keep on labeling until we get to 1 whole. We add another 1/8. That's 6/8. Then we add another 1/8. And it looks like I'm missing pieces, but that would be 7/8. And then we add another 1/8. And that gives us 8/8. And we can check to see, do we have 8 equal pieces and does it equal 1 whole? And our answer to that is yes. So then I look to see, okay, I go to the star, to the arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. So my arrow or my star was at 5/8. Okay, there are 2 more examples for you to do in your journal. And remind me when you're at my table to show you an example where the fraction goes past 1 whole, so you can understand why it's so important to identify the 0 and the 1.